Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. A very warm good morning to all of you students. So before wasting our further time, let's start with our today's topic. So as we can see that this video is made for social science and the class is 7th from NCERT textbook, and this video is an extension of what we have covered in our previous video. So students, come, let's start with our today's topic. Now, students, as in the previous class also we studied about the rigid Hindu caste system that we all know about. Fine. So what were the variations that were there in the Hindu caste system? We had seen at least 5 different categories that were falling in the Hindu caste system. The first category was the Brahmins, and they decided to stay on the top level of the ladder. Fine. Why? Because they thought that they were very learned people, and learned people had the right to stay on the top. So this was their mentality, and they acquired the first position on the ladder. Now let's come down and see who were ranging second in the ladder according to the next system. So next were the Kshatriyas. Now Kshatriyas were also known as warrior people, and they belonged to warrior class. Now warriors were also having some sort of importance and respect. Why? Because they were fighting for the country. Fine, they were fighting, they were having a war, they were bringing medals for the country. So they stood second in the ladder. Now Brahmins are done, now warriors are done. Now left were only people who were having shops, okay, people who were peasants, people who were doing lower jobs such as small teaching, business class, and having ration shops. So they were coming in the third, and they were also known as Vaishyas. Fine. So they were coming in the third, they were known as Vaishyas. Now you must be thinking, okay, all the classes are divided. Now who will fall in the category of fourth people? Like we also discussed, the Shudras, the farmers, the peasants who served all the other classes. Now Shudras are the people, suppose daily wage laborers, fine? Laborers and all those people who are working with other people, they will help all these three people, fine? So they will come in the fourth level, but still they had some type of respect in the society, although they were in the fourth class. Now beyond this, the fifth one was the untouchables. They were also known as Dalits people. Now as the word suggests, untouchables, no one looked down upon them, no one used to talk to them. They were known for only low class work was only done by these people. Fine. So this was the category which we had seen in the Hindu caste system. Now you must be thinking, ma'am, there was historical evidences of political and social groups. Now from where this caste system arise upon us? Who started this caste system in the very first place? Like we are seeing how there are politicians, they are standing over here and they are seeing to these people. Fine. So who is starting this caste system? Think for a second. History has given us the liberty, history has given us the privilege that okay, if you want to divide among yourselves, you may do so. But now what people started doing? They started the division of people on the basis of their occupation. We also studied about this. Yes. Now if you will have more money, if you are wealthy, if you are rich, and if you are having a lot of money, power, literacy, then you will come in the first place. The perfect example of this is the Brahmins. Fine. Brahmins are coming in the first place because they were claiming that we are very literate. We know each and everything. Each and every knowledge is known to us about the world. So we will be coming in the first position. Similarly, warriors. Now they were fighting for the country. They had some sort of respect. So they said we will come in the second. So their occupations defined that they will be staying in this place or that place. Up until here, I hope this is clear to all of you. So how did they define it? They themselves made it. No rule was there. They themselves made this caste system because on the basis of occupation which all people were having. So it was the fate of a person, it was the fate of a child. If he is born in a Shudra family or untouchable family, no matter how much learned he becomes, how much educated he becomes, he will be Shudra according to that caste system. I hope this concept is clear to all of you. Now, we have seen caste. Now, caste also had Jati Varna system. Okay, Jati and Varna system. Now, let's see what does this Jati Varna system is all about. Now, we all saw that how clearing of forest was done. Now, you have to clear forest because you need land for building houses, or else where you will stay. So, clearing of forest for houses was done. Now, when this clearance of forest, now they will make that forest some place, so they made farms. Fine. So those change in forest dwellers started making farms. Now farms are made by clearing forest. Now they won't keep the farms idle, so they had to do something. So they started growing crops on it. You know, they started growing crops on it because they started tilling the land, and they became peasants. Now once they are becoming peasants, they are having land, they are having education, knowledge about how tilling is done, how cropping system is done. So slowly and steadily they started influencing the society, and they became large part of the complex societies. Fine. Now they were the main people who were influencing the society. Do this, don't do this, do that, don't do that. And then they became part of the large complex society. Now, what happened afterwards? Now, economic and differences, social differences were also there. Now, because only one jati, one type of society is taking care, right? Society में कौन कर रहा है? Yes. Yes. So now who is taking care of all other jatis? They were the peasants. They started tilling lands. Now they were influencing the society. Now because of influence, what was happening? Differences were there. There were economic differences and there were social differences. Why economic differences? Rich will become more richer, poor will become more poorer. This was the first type of economic differences. Second was social differences. Now social differences are those differences that are pertaining to society. For instance, okay, social differences may be also constituted as differences which we are having in, let's say, culture, living, lifestyle, food, habits, and all those stuff. Fine. With more differences, society, people were now grouping into jatis and subcaste. Now differentiation has already begun. From economic and social differences, बहुत सारे लोग different हो चुके थे. Now because of that, people started becoming members of subcaste. This is a caste of peasants. Subcaste will be divided from so on and so forth. I hope up until here the thing is clear to all of you students. Now, how jatis were grouped on the basis of their backgrounds and occupations. Students, this is very important to understand. Anything that happened in the past, anything that happened in the history was all because of your occupation. आप क्या चीज से belong करते हो? They will only think about your occupation and nothing else, because the ranks, they were not fixed permanently. See, the ranks were variable in nature. You can become Shudra in one area, but you can become Kshatriya in another village. So the status of same jatis could vary from area to area. This was the actual reality. In one village you can become Shudra, but in the other village you can become Kshatriya. In one village you can become Kshatriya, but according to the other area, other managers and all those things, you can become Brahman if you're having some knowledge, you know. So these were the situations that were happening at that point of time. Now, Jatis formed their own rules and regulations because they thought that there was no one superior to them to make them understand. And because they were forming rules and regulations, why? To manage the conduct of their new members. Now Jati was making members, they were having their own rules and regulations, so they were enforced by an assembly of elder people. Now elder people were also known as Jati Panchayats. Now Now my main question to all of you students, now caste system was made by man or was it made by God? Was it made by man or was it made by God? This is a very simple question. Who made the caste system? Caste system was man-made. Why? Because people used to categorize them on the basis of their occupation. What is your occupation? You will belong to this caste. Fine. So it was purely made by man. God never made any sort of caste system. God, he never made any sort of caste system. It was purely and purely man-made. Now, students, what can you see over here? What can we see? Okay, we can see priest because he's writing and I think he's having some knowledge of Sanskrit. Can we take? Now this person is having bow and arrow. So he can be a warrior. Yes. Okay. Now this person is having his own shop. He's weighing the products. That means he's a person who's having business. So he can be called as peasant. And the last one are the people who are having brooms in their hand. See, so they were the Shudras or the lower working class. So in this manner, the class of the society was divided into 4 types. Now the concept is clear to all of you? Yes, students? Okay. Now before we proceed further, there is an evaluation time for all of you. Now jatis were grouped according on the basis of their, is it background, is it occupation or is it all of the above? Yes. I think the correct answer is occupation and not background, students. I have given you this option to just confuse you. Whatever jati is a group, they are based on their occupation. Now, if you fall under the category of Shudras, workers who are working for the society, cleaning and sweeping, you will be a Shudra only. I hope this is clear to all of you. Now, region and empire. Let's see what we have to study in region and empire. Once we have studied and completed this Jati and Varna system, now let's see who was the king, who was the region and who was the empire at that point of time. So there were larger states, now states such as Chola state, which were there in the south area, fine, South India. Then we have Tughlaqs, North Delhi, Mughals, Agra. So they compassed many regions. For example, a Sanskrit Prahasti was praising the Delhi Sultan Ghyasuddin Balban. So Sanskrit was telling about Ghyasuddin Balban. So we can see that how different areas were having different languages. How come Sanskrit come in between? Even if they are having no intention. So this is all because of the regions and the empire in which they are dealing. Now explaining that the ruler had a vast empire from Bengal to Afghanistan. So now in this slide, this slide we will study about regions, empires and how Bengal and Afghanistan, their territories were stretched from one part of Bengal to the other part of Rajasthan. And now we will also be studying and dealing about major empires and kings, regions and who are controlling them. Now, by 700 AD, there were many kingdoms. They were having distinct geographical dimensions. They were having their own language and cultural characteristics. So, by 700 AD, there were so many kingdoms. They were having their own areas. Now, geographical dimensions, we can also say that own different areas of, territory or power. Now, their own language. Fine. Someone will speak Sanskrit, someone will speak Islamic, someone will speak Arabic, someone will speak Persian, and cultural characteristics. So cultural characteristics is solely dependent on the area and the region which you are living. An area, region and language. When these three are clubbed together, you yourself will be dependent on those cultural characteristics. Now, occasionally dynasties such as Cholas, Khiljis, Tughlaqs and Mughals were able to build an empire that was pan-region. Now, pan-region means which was spread all across India. So now pan-region means it was spread all across India. Fine. Now, why did the ruler he kept claiming to have control over different parts of the subcontinent? What would be the reason behind this? Why are the rulers always thinking, I want this also, I want that portion, I want this region, I want this region, that should come under my control, this region should come under my territory? Why? What will be the gain of that ruler when he will claim to have control over different parts? There must be something, they must be getting something. So what was that something? Why? Was it power or was it money? What? Think and then comment down in the chat box. So students, I think that kings and different people wanted to have each and everything under their territory because they wanted them to be powerful. जितना ज़्यादा उनके पास आएगा इतने ज़्यादा वो पावरफुल बन जाएंगे. They will have much more, we can say that they can have much more impact with the help of these territories. So power was very, very important. Fine. Now, let's see which of the following had a vast empire. The Cholas, Tughlaqs, Mughals, or all of the above. Who had a vast empire? Okay, we saw that from Kolkata to Afghanistan. Who were ruling? Mughals. So correct answer is Mughals, not Cholas and not Tughlaqs. Fine students. Now, second most spoken language in each state of India. Now we have studied about why kings were acquiring various parts of India. Now let's come to culture and language. Now before we proceed further students, which language is spoken in your state? Suppose if you are from Punjab, so what will they speak? Punjabi. Now suppose if you are from Gujarat, so they will be speaking Gujarati. Now if you are from southern part, they will speak Telugu and Tamil. Fine. If you are from Kashmir, then Dogri language will be spoken. If you are from Leh Ladakh, then Tibetan will be spoken. Fine. And Urdu is spoken in these parts of the area like Uttar Pradesh can be there, Lucknow can be there. Now in Odisha and West Bengal, Odia and Bengali is spoken. Now Maithili is spoken in Bihar. Okay, now we can see that English and Bengali is spoken in these areas, northeast areas. Yes, northeast territories can also be spoken. See, India is one state, one land, but there are so many different languages that are being spoken. So what is the most spoken language according to you? यहाँ पे क्या कोई इंग्लिश में बातें करते हैं और हिंदू और हिंदी? Yes, I think there is a tie between Hindi and Urdu. Yes, tie है कि नहीं है? Hindi and Urdu mein there is a tie because these two languages spoken approx all over India. So now these languages are the dominant languages which are having some sort of rule. Yes. Now before we proceed further students, now tell me what do you understand by language and their place? What is language according to you? What do you mean by place? Now if you want to answer, then you will be saying that ma'am, language means the place where we live and the language which is spoken in that place. Fine. So the place where we live is denominated by language. Now जहाँ हम रहेंगे हम तो वहीं की बात बोलेंगे, हम तो वहीं की language speak करेंगे. If I am living in southern part of India, I will be speaking Tamil and Telugu. I will not be speaking Punjabi or Odia or Dogri language. Why? Because the majority of the population is living in southern area and they are speaking southern languages. So the area in which we live is always dominated by the culture and the language. Place तो होता ही होता है. I hope this concept is clear to all of you. Now, this shows that what are the most spoken languages in the world. Now, इसमें we have Punjabi, Hindi, Bengali, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, English, Arabic and Spanish. Fine, students? Now, let's study about some poets who were having vast knowledge of language. Now, this poet is very well known as Amir Khusro. Now, he observed a different language in every region of this land. Sindhi, Lahori, Kashmiri, Davasamudri, which is spoken in southern Karnataka, then Telangani in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarati in Gujarat, fine, Mabari in Tamil Nadu, Gauri in Bengal and Awadh in eastern UP. Now you must be thinking, ma'am, Tamil Nadu mein how can we think and speak Mabari? So just go back to the traditional time, students, and always keep in mind that we are studying history. So that point of time, southern India was known as Deccan. Fine. Now, Ahmed Khusro, he was an Indo-Persian Sufi singer. He was musician, he was poet and scholar. Now, who lived under the Delhi Sultanate. So, his dynasty was Delhi Sultanate, and he is an iconic figure of the cultural history of the Indian continent. Now, his dynasty, he belonged to Delhi Sultanate. And he is a very iconic masterpiece figure of the cultural history of Indian subcontinent. So this was all about Amir Khusro. Now let's see. Now Amir Khusro went on to explain that on contrast to the languages there was which are spoken all over India. जितनी भी सारी languages जो all over India में की गई है spoken, Sanskrit was language which was not belonging to any region. Now Sanskrit language is given which is not belonging to any region. It's not there that Sanskrit is only spoken in UP and it is not spoken in Bihar. It is not there that Sanskrit is not spoken in Bengal but it is spoken in Kashmir. Yes? So Sanskrit was a language which was given all India status because it did not belong to any region. It was a very old, traditional and common language and people do not know it, but only the Brahmins knew language. That's why we saw that Brahmins always acquired the first place in the Jati and the caste system because they knew the Sanskrit language. Now they thought that okay, we knew the Sanskrit language, we know each and everything about Sanskrit. Other class people do not know about this language, so we can acquire a social status in the society because we are learned people. हमें तो वही language आती जो बाकियों को आती नहीं है. So Brahmins knew Sanskrit, others did not know about it. So Brahmins को इससे एक फायदा हो गया that they always stood in the first class system of Jati and Varna system. Fine. So this is Sanskrit which is written Pashitramani, Buddhi Ghayastha Matidriya Sthit Chalasti Tattva Tattva. So this was very difficult to understand and Brahmins only knew it. So this was the importance of Sanskrit and this was said by Amir Khusro. He went on explaining कि हर रीजन की अपनी अपनी लैंग्वेज होती है बट संस्कृत इज दैट ओनली पर्टिकुलर लैंग्वेज विच इज नॉट हैविंग एनी रीजन. इट इज स्पोकन ओनली बाय एंड इट इज नोन टू ओनली बाय ब्राह्मण्स. फाइन. नाउ make a list of languages which was mentioned by Amir Khusro. So this we have just studied now. Fine. What was the language? Sanskrit. He so told that Sanskrit was language, it was mentioning it. Now prepare another list of languages spoken today. आज के region में कौन सी language we speak? Students, you need to make a list. He has mentioned Awadhi, Gujarati, Bengali, Telugu, Tamil and Dogra, Punjabi. So you need to make list of those languages which Amir Khusro has mentioned at that point of time and they are still used today, spoken today. You need to underline the names that are smaller and circle those who are different. So this is your task. Think, search, research, find out कि उसने क्या क्या mention किया था and which is not spoken, which is spoken. You will get the answers by yourself. Fine. Now this brings us to the end of this chapter, students. Now evaluation time. What was the name of the language spoken in earlier times in Gujarat? Was it Telugu, Was it Gujarati or was it none of the above? Now, Amir Khusro has spoken also about Gujarat. Now, Gujarat में तो खाली गुजराती ही speak होती थी, because Telugu was spoken in which part, students? It was spoken in southern part of India. Fine. I hope the concept of languages, how different places are defining languages, is clear to all of you. Now, before we complete this session of languages of Amir Khusro, the importance of Sanskrit, what is the Jati and Varna and the caste system, match following. Now I have prepared 3 different questions for you. Now first is Jatis. Now Jatis का relation किससे होगा? गुजरात से, चोलास, तुगलक्स और मुगल्स, और on the basis of occupation. Jatis किससे होती थी? On the basis of occupation. Fine. Language and region. Gujarat is a state, it is a region. So Gurari was a language and Gujarat was a region. Region and empire. Let's talk about empire. We studied about Cholas, Tughlaqs, Delhi Sultanate, Mughals. Yes. So whenever we are speaking of empire, we need to tell about their dynasties. So I hope the concept is clear to all of you students. So students, in today's class we have discussed about the Jati system, the Varna system. Why is it that Brahmins and Kshatriyas are only acquiring Jatis and Varnas, और कोई क्यों नहीं top में आता है? Now how Jatis are formed, how Varna is formed, how Jati Panchayat member are dividing them on the basis of their occupations and background. Then we have also studied about places such as Amir Khusro mentioned about regions, language, culture. Why Sanskrit not defined to one region? Why? What is the importance of Sanskrit that only Brahmins know, and it is not particular confined to one region, but it is a universal language which only Brahmins knew. Fine. So there's a homework for all of you students. Now you need to make a list of major changes that you have seen in your lifestyle. Today we're talking about your lifestyle in the last 3 years. So today is 2022. So 2019 से 2020 से 21 2022. So 2019 में 18 से ले लेते हैं, and then share with your classmates that what is the lifestyle changes, culture changes, food habits, regions, language speaking, all changes. From aspect of all changes you need to mention and speak with your classmates. This will help you to know that how far you have come in change, how far you have evolved and developed, how far you have accepted the change. Fine. Now make a list of languages that were mentioned by Amir Khusro, who was an Indo-Persian poet. In his poem, it is also be read in the lesson. So that poem is there in the lesson, and Amir Khusro, he was an Indo-Persian poet. So उसने किस किस लैंग्वेज को महानता ने इंपॉर्टेंस दी है, किस किस के बारे में उसने बात किया है. You need to mention all those things in your activity notebook. Doing this will help you by 2 things. Concept will be clear. If such questions come in exam, you will be easily आप attend कर पाओगे. Fine. So this brings us to the end of this topic about Jati Varna system and what is the importance of Sanskrit. So I hope the concept is clear to all of you students. So keep liking, sharing and subscribing to my videos. If you have any doubt, any difficulty in this slide, please feel free to comment in my comment box. I'll be free to answer all your comments and queries. Till then, keep studying. Take care. Goodbye. See you, and keep on liking and sharing and subscribing for other coming videos. Thank you, students.